Marcel, thank you so much for being here today.
Hey, thanks, Stuart, for having me on your show.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to kick it off by just jumping right in and talking about your book. And I feel like so often when we see people coming out with memoirs, with books that lean towards personal development, or at least are telling an inspirational story, I feel like their face is front and center on the cover. It's like the thing that they're selling more than anything. But yours doesn't have that. And I would love to hear you share a bit about your story for the audience and also how you came up with the artwork for your book.
Yeah, I'm really proud of that artwork, man, because when we were putting that together and I was looking at it, my guy that I was working with for the cover, he was like, actually, what is a great symbol that represents, the hood? And I told
Mhm.
him, I said, I had this vision in my head with in every hood, you'll always see like a pair of shoes thrown over a telephone wire. And that's a universal signature that you're in
Yes.
a bad neighborhood, bro.
Mhm.
So I said, that's in my head. I said, I need something with that. And obviously, let's just work through it. And he sent me a couple of versions and and once I saw those shoes over the line, I was like, and put a guy in a suit in the back, like show him standing on a building, which will demonstrate that, yeah, he's in the hood, but he's now out of the hood. And it just all came together,
Mhm.
and I put out, I let my kids see it, and it was like three different colors and versions, and then they were like, "Go with the blue, Dad." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, that blue is on." And that's the cover, man, because it illustrates the essence of the book. And the synopsis of the book is really about, at one point in my life, I was living in a really nice middle class neighborhood in my early teens. And I had a few other friends that we all kind of decided that we wanted to be adventurous. And for some reason, we decided that we wanted to get involved with criminal activity.
Mhm.
And interesting enough, we were really successful at it.
Mhm.
But over time, we became immersed in criminal activity, and subsequently, a couple of people either died or incarcerated or fell victim to drug abuse. And just one kid was able to kind of to emerge like a phoenix and rise from the ashes and change his life. And that kid went on to create businesses and be successful and become an author. And it's a true testament to, choices matter. However, when you find yourself in that dark space, you can make the
Mhm.
right decisions that can change your life and your trajectory. And it's also a story about real life perseverance and never
Mhm.
accepting, quitting. Like
Yeah.
understanding that when it's all said and done, I'm responsible for my outcomes. And I believe that it's a story that resonates across the planet and the world because we all face challenges, we all lose, we all think that it's hopeless sometimes. And I believe that book demonstrates, because I'm here as a live testament that, yeah, it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Yeah. No, amen to that. And I think what I'm hearing you say is no matter what the story of your life has been up to this point, we're always writing the next chapter. And
Yeah.
so I want to ask you, given the trajectory that your life was on, was it a specific moment? Was there that rock bottom situation that made you go, I got to flip the script. I got to make something of myself. I got to get out of a life of crime and into building businesses?
Yeah, it's interesting because I had two parents. My mom was an educator, my dad was an entrepreneur. And even when I was taking that track of negativity, my mom was always in my ear, like, you're going to school. Like, because
Mhm.
all of her sisters and all of my aunts, they all have graduate degrees. Right.
Yeah.
So when that's the background, it's like not even a conversation because it's like you're going to get a graduate degree. Right. So I'm on a dual track at that time. But I could tell you, I was, again, with my friends, we made a really bad decision, and the next thing we're in this condo community, and I walk down the steps, and it's like 40 police officers out there with guns drawn,
Wow.
FBI, all kinds of letters out
Wow.
there. And first of all, I mean, I can't even tell you how traumatic that experience is, knowing that if you make the wrong move, you're dead. Like, that's not okay. But when they put me in the back of that cop car and I had just had enough.
Mhm.
I had been through so much up to that point that when I was in the back of that car, I was like, I can't do this. I was like, this
Mhm.
is not how my story ends. And it was so draining because I just started crying and bawling in the back of that car. And I just remember, man, I was just like, it's changing, you know?
Yeah.
And fortunately for me again, that I was already like, I think I had my associate's degree at that point, and I might have been a few credits from my bachelor's degree. So
Sure.
it was starting to it was time for me to start making better decisions. You know, it was time for me to figure out what was going to happen with my education and figure out what was going to happen with my life, because that right there, that was a turning point. I was like, nah, I'm not going out like this.
Yeah. So I actually want to drill in a bit deeper here if we may, because I feel like everybody listening to this has something that they've done that they're not proud of. They have a set of circumstances that, boy, believe me, Marcel, if you heard this story about me, you would know I'm not worthy of success or a different life or my dreams or anything like that. What supported you in not giving into any thoughts like that, not allowing what had transpired to basically cancel out any future success you could possibly have? And I'm asking because so many people take things like this and disqualify themselves from any future success.
I really believe that there's not one person on this planet that's perfect. I don't care
Facts.
on every level in society, from your most ultra successful people, whoever your role model is in that area, to people that are obviously flawed. Every last one of us has made incredibly bad decisions and then made mistakes. That's just, it's inevitable because we're not perfect. And I think that's a starting point to allow yourself not to be perfect. And to allow yourself to go, okay, you know, as long as I'm breathing and as long as I'm on this planet, I can make a change. I can do differently. And again, that's when it
Mhm.
comes down to your choices, right? Owning your choices, owning your decisions, not blaming everybody else, not coming up with some excuse. Yeah, I didn't have the greatest dad. I had a cool mom. I've come across a lot of shady people. They didn't define me. Okay,
Yeah.
I define myself, my decisions,
Yeah.
who I am as a person. That outcome is only on me. That's it. And taking that level of responsibility and then starting to plot your path. That's how you get out of a hole. Because like when you're in a hole, what's the first thing you stop doing? That's digging, right? When you're in a
Yes.
hole, you stop digging. So that's the whole point, right? It's time for you to go, all right, yeah, I know it wasn't the best, but I can do better. Because a lot of times I think most people are conditioned to go, yeah, my mom was effed up, or my dad was effed up, and my
Mhm.
grandma was an alcoholic, so I'm doomed. That's not true.
Right.
That's
Right.
just not true. It's just not true. If you want to own that, that's different. If you want to make that your reality, then that again, that's on you.
Mhm.
But take responsibility for you. Take responsibility for whatever outcome you're about to have in your life. However your life turns out, that's because of you. It's not because of other people. Nobody can make me mad. I can
Yes.
get upset. I can make myself upset and I can make myself mad, but nobody can make me mad. That's not true. That's not reality. You control your destiny. You control whichever way your life goes. You have to take responsibility for it. That's the way this works.
So good. So good. And everything you're saying is absolutely true. It's personal responsibility is something we do talk a lot about on this show. And I really appreciate you sharing that in your own words today. And so, just continuing your story a little bit, and not to give away too much because we want people to grab the book, but
Mhm.
what was the first step out of the cop car? What was the first step you made to starting to turn things around?
Apologize to myself, the people that I
Wow.
hurt, ask for forgiveness for God, like total reset.
Mhm.
I had to let it go. I was like,
Mhm.
that whole life had to be burnt down. To be honest with you, like to get out of that situation, I knew. everybody that was a part of my past was going to go. That was my first step. I was like, I'm about to plot this course, and that the final outcome to terminate that life, because the reason why you have to burn it all down, because if you don't, it's going to always keep calling you. Those same people are going to be around, those same situations are going to be around. It's going to always try to pull you back. So I knew that when I was sitting in that jail cell, I said, when I walk up out of here, everything has to start to change. And I'm not saying that I did it all in one way. I didn't do it just all the same day. I already knew. I was like, I'm gonna graduate from school. I'm gonna these people, I'm cutting them off for good. I knew that there were certain things that I was going to do to make sure that I didn't ever go back. And that's what's in the book. Like I said, without me giving it away, there's a point in that book where I took actions intentionally to make sure that no matter what happened, I could never go back to that group and those people again. And that was my total reset. It was like,
Mhm.
okay, now what you gonna do? And here I go. Here I was making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. And now I'm on a paycheck. And it was like, I remember my first paycheck, it was like $800 for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here going, what the hell am I going to do with this? Right? I am sitting there like, but again, remember, that's why I said, that's why you burn that past down. Because then you could look at that and you can be like, oh man, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know how I can make more money than this, right?
Mhm.
So it's methodically understanding who you are and also starting to figure out how can you set up for the future. But again, you got to let your past go. Because whatever that was holding you there, if you're alcoholic, you got alcoholic friends, they might say they want the best for you, but they want to see you around on Friday. They want to hang out with you still. So if you're around that same circle, then they're going to actually do things that's going to pull you right back in.
Yes. Yeah, I think what you're getting at is it's keeping that north star of who you want to be and who you and taking the committed action to continue to get there. And folks, if you're listening to this, it might be, to Marcel's point, letting go of some relationships, letting go of some past habits or behaviors. And it's probably going to take you getting all the way outside of your comfort zone in order to do so. And so, can you speak into the courage that it took from you in order to let all those people and things go?
Oh yeah, that word is one of my favorite words. Because courage is that moment in that time where you're most uncomfortable and you feel like if you do this, you just don't. There's so much unknown to what's around the corner, and yet you step into it, and
Mhm,
that's what it was. It was like for me, I had a really young daughter at the time. She was only like 2.
mhm.
And that was the other thing. I was like, I gotta be here for her no matter what. I was like, this isn't even about me anymore. It's about the kind of person and the parent I want to be in the future. And I need this kid to have a future. And it was like at that moment again, I stepped into it because you know, listen, sometimes in life you have nothing else to lose.
Yeah,
That's just the
yeah,
bottom line, right? So yeah, if
yeah,
if you're gonna take your shot, take your shot. But the one thing my personality can't deal with is being at some point in my life and going, I wish I did. I wish I had. You just have to do it and you just have to be willing to take the failure because I think a lot of us, I mean, you're always nobody like childhood matters, right? It matters a lot. And I think a lot of us when we're kids, when you experience losing, loss, failure, it hurts a lot.
of
It's
course.
not cool not to be cool. When you're not
Right.
the coolest person in school, it's like, okay, who are you? And failing is like ingrained in you to be something that holds you back. But I tell you what, if you can't walk through failure and get past it, and you can't really see ahead and figure out, hey, look, this is just a part of the course, then it's gonna always hold you in a box. You're gonna
Yeah,
always be in the box because you're scared to step out of it. You're just gonna be held captive to your fear. And that's why courage is probably one of the most important variables in life. Because if you don't have the courage, you'll never experience change.
yeah.
And if you don't experience change, then you're really not living.
Marcel, I feel like you're preaching right now because everything you're saying, I'm just like, yes, yes, yes. And it's true. Like so many of the boxes that we confine ourselves in are from our own fear. And it's anticipating how a conversation's gonna go, or maybe I'm gonna lose the money, or maybe I'm gonna embarrass myself in public. That anticipation, that future tripping is often worse than the actual failure would be if we just allowed
Exactly.
ourselves to fail, right?
Yes. Yes. It's failure is not that bad, people. Let me tell you, to get to where I am, I've failed a number of times. I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in the stock market. I've had businesses that were going south, and I really had to step in and put in even more money to rescue those companies. I've lost and played basketball, I've lost 1,000 games. Everything
Sure.
that I've ever done that make me better, I've lost at first. I
Yeah.
failed at first. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I made bad decisions, and they weren't like they're like decisions could be bad, but they can be inadvertently bad. It's not like I was making bad decisions on purpose. It's just that I was making bad decisions because I was trying to learn. And that's the
Sure.
whole point, right? As you learn, you evolve. You don't make those bad decisions and you don't fail as much. That's how the greats become great. Michael Jordan has that, how many shots he's missed. Kobe the
Hmm.
same way. Kobe, like, I
Hmm.
missed 10,000 shots. I remember when Kobe was first coming in the NBA and he shot like 3 or 4 air balls in a crucial game. Crucial game.
Yes.
And nobody remembers that anymore. I mean, he learned in that moment, he figured it out, and look how great he became. Like, that's one reason why I do truly love sports. And this is for all my genders. I think sports is a true visual illustration of how you deal with failure. Michael Jordan got to the gate many times dealing with Detroit, lost many times before they got over that championship hump. And those are serious losses that he took. But you got to
Yes.
see how those people took those losses. They came right back the next season and
Yes,
they
they did.
came right back harder and better. And that's how life is. You have to come back. You take the loss, but you come back harder because you
Yes.
took a loss and you learned from it. And that's what it's about. You take those losses, but you're evolving during those losses. And that's the thing. And then one day they can't even mess with you because you're great.
Yeah.
Because you're great because you were hit so many times that now you can see the balls coming. And that's what it's about when you take those hits. You can see the pitch now. I can see the balls coming because I took so many losses. That's what this is about. That's how you get to winning. You win through losing. And I know it sounds crazy, but it's true.
No, it's not though, and you're speaking my language because I'm a hoops head myself. I played basketball all the way through high school, and I'm just gonna own it. We were terrible. My high school team was terrible. I was the co-captain on one of the worst teams in my high school's history. But despite all the losses, and there were many, one of my proudest accomplishments on that senior season we had was we beat the best team in our league.
There you
We
go.
showed up and they didn't. They
Go.
waxed the floor with us the very first game, but then when we played them later on in the season, they were, treating us like a cakewalk, and we had learned from a lot of the mistakes. We played a lot harder and we upset them on a random Thursday night in January, and messed up their playoff seeding and things like that. And I think it's a testament to what you're saying. We could have laid down, we could have not shown up, we could have decided we had no shot in that game. And to your point with much more significant basketball players out there like Kobe, like MJ, like LeBron, nobody talks about how many shots they missed, but they did have to miss them all in order to make them.
Thank
And
you.
I don't know if you've heard this quote, Marcel, but Dame Lillard, Milwaukee Bucks, great point guard, future Hall of Famer.
I like him.
Right after he made that shot in the playoffs to send the OKC Thunder and Paul George home, he made that shot from like
In
darn
the
near
corner.
half court.
Yeah.
He said something to the effect of, in order to make a shot in front of 10,000 people, you have to make 10,000 shots in front of nobody.
There you go.
And so you just got to put in the
I love
work,
it.
put in the effort. And to your point, man, just fight through whatever fear is there because you owe it to yourself.
And
You
I
owe it to your kids too.
And I like your story because that's the whole thing. Like when your team walks out into that basketball court, you guys could have been like, yeah, this team is way better than us. We don't have a chance. And that's what people do. Like they talk themselves out of the win before they even play, right? But when you go out there and you're like, no, hold up, we got a chance because we played them before and now we know their weaknesses. That moment when you upset them, that's the moment that I love because now
Hmm.
you it's a lot of redemption in that moment, right?
Hmm.
Nothing else matters because you actually did it. And that's what I'm
Hmm.
saying. Like you, no matter what it takes, as long as you're goal focused, at some point you'll reach that goal. It's going to take a lot, but you just have to be laser focused on that goal. And then when you do achieve it, you're sitting there. I mean, that feeling is so gratifying. Then you want more. And that's again how you start winning because now you go, okay, I can do this. I can win. I am better than I thought I was. What else can I do? That's how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to ask you kind of a nuanced question here. I'm a father. I know you're a father. So often we can listen to a podcast like the conversation we're having today. We can get excited, like, yeah, I'm going to push through all my fears. I'm going to fail forward. I'm going to learn from my mistakes. I'm going to keep going. But then when it comes to our kids, we often want to coddle them. We often want to protect them. There's so many parents out there that are well intentioned that just don't want their kids to struggle the way they had to struggle. Do you find that coddling works, or is there some balance between letting your kids fail? I would love to get your thoughts on this.
Colin is the worst,
Okay.
especially for this generation because they're IT oriented. They're everything for them has been media, digital. It's detached from actual social interaction like my generation. Like my generation spent all our time outside, riding bikes, playing basketball,
Yes.
engaging. This generation is
Same.
nothing like that, right? So you're doing them a disservice by not holding their feet to the fire and holding them accountable. That little kid that I had when I was in the middle of everything, that she was only a baby. Now she's grown up to graduate from Columbia University, has worked for the top 500 companies, everything, and for a reason. I never coddled her. I was always there for her. I was always a parent, but I let her fail. I let her fall. I let her learn her own mistakes. I held her accountable. I said, what's the goal here? What are we trying to achieve here? In all her moments, I empowered her to be the best version of her. And as a grown adult now, again, that's my responsibility to create this conglomerate and pass it off to my kid. What now people want to catch up on generational wealth. That's what we'll do together as she's a young adult. My other kids are 18, 16. They'll be groomed into what I'm doing now. But yes, the only way I can accomplish this overall goal is to let them become the people that they're supposed to be. It's easy to want to pick your kid up when they fall. But if you don't let them fall and let them get themselves up, what are they going to do when you're not around?
Yes.
That's how this works. Like you have to let them fall and learn, and because we can only teach them what we can teach them, but we all already know life has a whole set of lessons for them too. When they go off to college, they have to be able to handle their own. They have to be able to adjust, deal with people. They have to be able to be social. These things you can't teach your kids everything. Life's going to teach them a lot. So what you can prepare them for is the level of solitude they have to have in themselves to push forward. And like you said, I could do 1,000 podcasts. Everybody's listening to me. But my kids, it's a totally different realm because I'm their dad.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm hitting them with what I'm hitting the world with right now, ever since they've been kids, their whole lives. But also it's conversation is conversation and goals are goals and mindsets and morals are morals. But what they learn on their own when I'm not around, right? That's what
Yeah.
matters the most. To what I know now, my kids don't do drugs. They're really goal oriented, they're focused. And again, it's because I said to them as young people in school, I said, you have one job. That's your grades. I said, everything else in your lives is taken care of.
Yes.
You have one job. And I'm like,
Yes.
you need to do incredibly well at your job. Okay? As long as you do that, we're fine. If you don't, then we're going to have issues. And of course, we had issues. Of course, they want to deviate, do this and that. But I had to hold them accountable. I'm like, you got one thing to do. That's all you
Yeah.
you go home, you come home, you study, have fun with your friends, get great grades. That's all you have to do, and you're gonna get whatever you need. Is that asking a lot? That's not asking a lot. So if they can't make that bar, of course there are going to be consequences. I'm holding them accountable because we
Mhm.
have a deal here. So if you break the rules and you do something, you come home and you miss your curfew, your ass on punishment. Like that's just the way this works. And I am not a fan. Let me wrap this up. My kids were going to a private school that I never really wanted them to go to. My wife had them going to the school. So they're going to the school, the Manassas Christian Academy, and it's all fluff, fluff, fluff. And they're going to school, and then we're in like one of the I think my son was in like the sixth grade, and they were having a presentation. They're up there, and they had a trophy for everything. Here's the best dressed kid, and here's a trophy for the kid that made the best attendance. And I was so pissed at the end. Like, so y'all gonna give everybody in here a trophy. So,
Mhm.
so this everybody gets a trophy in the real world. That's what you're telling me. Like, no, that's not realistic. Some kids
No.
don't get trophies. And guess what? That might motivate that kid to want a trophy down the road. If you giving everybody a trophy for every damn thing, how does that work?
Yeah.
So yeah, I hate that. I don't like that concept, that mindset where we are right now. And as you can see, I push hard back against that. Like, you have to earn your trophy in this world. You don't
Yeah.
get given a trophy for wearing the best color shoes to school. Like, what? Y'all just gonna give everybody a trophy to make everybody comfortable because you don't want one kid to be walking around like, oh, he
Mhm.
didn't get a trophy. What? That's my whole generation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like only the best kids got trophies. The rest of us was like, damn. You know,
Yeah.
so what am I going to do next year to get the presidential award? That's the way it
Yes.
worked. So yeah,
Yes.
this all this dumbing down culture and trying to make everybody coddled and the kid. Guess what? The parents like me that pushing our kids like we're pushing them. My kids are going to be super successful. Your kids are going to be over there talking about I didn't get a trophy. That's how
Mhm.
this is going to work. And I'm like, nah, that is not okay. So I don't know where this societal shift happened, where everybody felt like everybody needs to be appeased, but that's not how the real world works. Not in business. Business in my world, the best man wins. All right, we all could be friends in commercial cleaning. This is my commercial cleaning company I'm sitting in, but everybody's
Yeah.
going after the same huge accounts, right?
Yes.
It's the best man wins. Nobody's no you lose, you lose. You gave them
Yes.
your best pitch and you did your best. You ran at that client, and if you win it, you win it. But if you lose, you lose. No, nobody call you and say, "Oh, you lost, buddy. Sorry. Talk to you next." What? Like, it's time to move on to the next account. That's the way this works. So yeah, nah. Like, I am not a fan of coddling your kid and it's gonna be okay, Barney. Hell no, it's not gonna be okay. You better
Yeah.
get your ass up and do better next time. Do better next time. Why'd you fail? Why'd you
Yeah.
fail? What happened? Now tell me what you're gonna do better. Go out there and shoot 20 times. Go out there, stay out there all night on the basketball court. That's what you want to play, Bryce? Go out there. When he used to run track, ask him about me. I was like, you want to go out there, you want to run faster, we go on practice every single day. Like, you're
Yep.
gonna go out there and give it everything you can. And that's the way we're gonna work. And no matter how it turns out, you're not a loser because you gave it 100%. That's across the board in everything we do.
I'm
Steven
ready
got me
to,
going, man.
dude. I'm ready to run through a wall. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
This
man.
is
I'm
what we
just like,
came
yeah,
for.
I just can't. I've never liked that, man. It just annoys me that we're in that space where everybody feels like they need to be coddled.
Yeah.
It's not okay. It's just
Can
not.
if I could actually share a quick anecdote, I mentioned before I was a hooper, play basketball, wasn't good enough to play college. That's okay. I think I maxed out my talent with whatever I had, right? Okay. So talking to you now as a grown man, I'm 6'2", decently built guy. I was 5'10" in the sixth grade. So I just got all of my growth early, right? And I was
Yeah.
a big husky kid. And this was when Shaquille O'Neal was dominating the NBA. So all of my coaches, everybody, don't work on ball handling, don't work on shooting, don't develop a 3-point shot, go get under the hoop, go get rebounds, go do all these things. I then win some award. I don't remember what it was called. I win an award on my sixth grade basketball team. I think I'm the best player there ever was. I'm going to play in the NBA. I'm going to be a D1 athlete, all these things. I sign up for what is the best basketball camp in the East San Francisco Bay Area where I grew up.
Mhm.
And let me tell you how quickly I was humbled. I was far and away the worst player in my age group at that camp. And yes, I cried all the tears. I had all the snot. I had all of the hard feelings. I did the whole pity party, the whole everything. And I think what I want the listeners to hear is I think my dad knocked this out of the park. Absolutely. He held the space for me. He let me have all the feelings. When I was done having the feelings, he said, "What do you want to do about it?"
Love it.
And
Love it.
he didn't force harder work on me. He didn't, make me wrong for the disappointment and the hurt, because my whole world what came crumbling down in that moment because of how bad I failed those 5 days at that camp. But then he challenged me with just the simple words, "Now what do you want to do about it?"
There
And
you
so
go.
he put the ball in my court, and I made the decision. I want to work a lot harder and I want to be the best basketball player I can be. And that has really set the table for really everything in my life. And I actually am super grateful for my dad for that moment, sitting in the truck in our driveway, having the fit, and then him allowing me, basically coaching me in that moment. And so,
That that's huge.
folks, we're not saying like negate your kids' feelings. They're still human beings, but we are saying hold them to a standard that is going to prepare them for real life.
Yep. Yep. Hands down, because that's why we're parents.
Yes.
Our number one responsibility is to create really good adults.
Yes.
And like you just said, there's a moment and there's a time, and timing is everything. I mean, there's so many adults out here that are just off track because of their childhoods. Childhoods matter. You know, when
Yes.
kids are small, that's when they're most impressionable. As parents, it matters. And how you engage your kids and what you show them and what you demonstrate on an ongoing basis daily, it matters, because I can promise you, when you think they're not looking, they're actually looking.
Yes,
They're
they
looking
are.
at you and they're looking at everything you do, how consistent you are. Do you measure up to your own words? All of that matters. Who you walk through the door and you are to your kids, it matters. And that's why I always start with just make sure that you're taking responsibility for yourself, because you're impacting people around you on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, I think integrity, being our word, demonstrating those types of things pay more dividends for our children than just about anything else.
Just about anything else. And you want that kid that you're putting out there in that space who's going to impact somebody else. You want them to have those incredibly strong core values and that understanding of what the world is going to take, what the world is going to bring to the table, and how you want them to impact the world. That they'll pick up those lessons if you're the right type of parent.
Yeah, absolutely. Marcel, I'm going to switch gears a little bit here. We've managed to go over a half hour in this conversation. We've talked all about your book, but haven't actually mentioned the title, and that's on me as the host here. I did want to ask though, what does hiding in plain view mean? I know it's the title of your book, but what does it actually mean?
Hiding in plain view is interesting because when I first wrote that book, I was just transitioning life. So I wrote the first 5 chapters and then life happened. Like, I wrote
Yes,
the 5 chapters, it sat on my desk for 10 years. And because I got married, started having kids, and the book was
sure.
there. And yeah, when I looked back, when it was time to continue writing the book, the first thing I felt like was like my I'm a very transparent person, right? I don't believe in all the fakeness and social media and presenting your best self and every day is a perfect day. Okay. I'm real transparent, and I really felt like, my life was so different from what I described earlier. Here I am now, the successful entrepreneur, blah, blah, blah. So I felt like I was like hiding in plain view. Like, what people were seeing wasn't the whole me. I felt
Yeah.
like I was just only presenting now a real polished person. And I was like, no, that's not my whole story. My whole story is a lot more than that. So that's where that title came from. I was like, I'm hiding in plain view. And I was like, it's time to kind of close out this chapter of my life and try my best to help somebody else out there with my story.
No, I love that. And so often I think we do look at people on social media and think they are somehow better than us. And, that's just not true.
No.
The more podcast interviews I do, I've had several millionaires on the show, former NFL guys on the show. Like they all have things they're struggling with, folks. They all have concerns. They all have things that keep them up at night. And, Marcel, I just want to acknowledge you and thank you for just being you. Like this is one of the most real conversations we've had on the show. And I can tell you're holding nothing back. And I think that's what makes you and this conversation so special. And I know it's going to impact a lot of people that listen to it. I want to be sure though that folks know exactly where to get the book and also where can they connect with you off of the show? Where can they connect, tap in with what you're up to?
Oh, okay. Well, Hiding in Plain View is everywhere. So it's on Amazon. Just Google it, Hiding in Plain View by Marcel Clarke. You'll find it everywhere. So it's available in all formats, digital, audio book. It's all over the world, people. So you can find that there. If you're interested in learning more about me and my endeavors, the easiest way to find me is at Marcel Clarke. So Marcel Clarke, CLARKE.co. So I didn't get the .com, people. I got the .co. So marcelclarke.co. My website will come up and you'll see everything relating to me, all of my businesses, everything that I'm doing in the community. You'll see my YouTube channel. So everything's there. The book is there, link to the book so you can go buy it wherever you want to buy it. But yeah, marcelclarke.co. Best way to find me.
We will absolutely have Marcel's info made available in the show notes wherever you are catching this episode. So tap in, grab the book. Obviously, Marcel is somebody you're going to learn a lot from. I know this has been a great conversation. I'm actually ready to go like train for this race that I'm training for today. I wasn't feeling it today, but here I am and that's
Let's
just a
go.
testament to who you are and the
Let's
lightning
go,
rod
Stuart.
that you can be
Yeah.
for people's energy. Last question I ask every guest, but I think it's a great one. What are you acknowledging yourself for today?
For being present, for putting everything out there, showing the world who I am, making myself available to you, Stuart. I appreciate the platform. I'm just one of those people that I love living in the moment. I'm really appreciative of every day I have on this planet. So every day is a beautiful day when you wake up, and just being available and present, man, is something that keeps me going all the time.
Yeah, man, every day is a gift if we allow it to be.
Yep.
And, I just appreciate you for honoring the space, honoring the listeners, showing up for you. And by all means, I know it's going to come back to you one way or another. It just
I
has a way
appreciate it,
of doing
Stuart.
that.
Again, thanks for having me on your platform and good luck to you on your podcast.
Thank you. We're going to definitely have to have you on again in the future. So, folks, thank you for tuning in this week. We'll be back next week with another guest or message. We will see you then.